All right, let's talk a little bit more about layers. So I have all of these layers over here that I created in the last demo video. I'm going to turn off color. Just because I don't really need to look at it. I'm going to drag this up just so we can see our long list of layers all together. And now I'm going to hold down Shift with the one on top selected. I'm going to grab the bottom. Now they're all selected, and I'm going to put them in a folder together, which would be called a group. There are a couple ways to achieve this. One is if you're on a Mac, hitting Control, which turns your cursor from this little finger into this arrow with the little menu next to it. And I can go to Group from Layers right here. And I could call it Adjustment Layers. You could achieve the same effect by going to Layer, Group Layers, or hitting Command G on a Mac, and that would group together all the layers you had selected. And now not only are my layers all neatly put together here, so I don't have to look at the long list, they're all collected under one little eye symbol. So I can go in and turn all of the layers off at once. And if I wanted to, I could always go in and change the combination of them that I had on. But for now, I'm just going to twirl that shut and turn it off and begin to talk about some other things you can do with layers. I could go into Layer and hit New Layer, which is Shift Command N on a Mac. And I could give it a name if I wanted to. In this case, this is just a layer to mess around and show you different things in, so layer 1 is fine. I could go in and give it a name later if I chose. And now I'm going to go in and begin to make another series of changes. So say I wanted to make a color wash over this entire image. I could go right here where this is black and white, click on that top square, and then I can pick any color that I want to with this color picker here. You can also enter a color if you know the 6-digit code for a particular color you're interested in. So I'm going to hit OK, and then I'm going to go over here to my paint bucket. And I'm going to dump that purpley pink color all over that layer, so that layer is full of that particular color now. And I could go in and change the opacity of that layer, which means make it lighter. And now, instead of the whole thing being magenta, I have a kind of wash that appears over the image that I can control with this opacity slider. I could also go in and make some changes here with our blend modes, which just change the way that a particular layer is interacting with the layers directly underneath it. So let's do, for example, this just because it's dramatic looking, not because I actually like it. I had that opacity down to 68%. If I put it all the way back up or all the way down, it might look a little bit different. For now, I'm actually just going to turn it off because I want to show you some different things. I could create a new layer, Shift Command N, layer 2 is fine, and I could go in and grab my paintbrush, and I could draw a freehand shape. So that was a thin little line because of what I have selected up here. Let's go in and get something bigger. All right, draw something else now. I can go in and say swap those so that I'm working with the white and turn that another color. So now both of the colors that are active here are colors that I've recently selected. And I could go in and do whatever I wanted to on this layer. And it would, of course, not be permanent. I could turn the layer on and off. And again, because all of these changes are based on the orders that the layers are in, if I turn that layer on, you'll see those little drawings that I just made on top. If I drag that layer underneath, now the effect that I put on this layer is affecting the layer where I made the drawings. So remember that the order that you put your layers in actually has an effect on the way particular layers look. So I've gone ahead and opened up another image here, so you can see I have my tab that we're working in right now, this tab that's highlighted, and I can click here and see this other image that I've opened up. And if I want to look at them together, I can go Window, Arrange, and I could say, look at them both like this, or look at them both this way. Let's just go back to Consolidate all to tabs. And you can also always grab the tabs and drag them around and then put them right back up where you want to, or switch the order of them, or use this X to close a particular tab. What I want to do is grab this image and move it into this image. There are a few ways to go about doing that. I could hit Command A, which is select all. Now you see there are marching ants everywhere. I could do that here under select, select all. I could deselect this way. I could use this marquee tool or another selection tool, which again we'll talk more about later, and select just a portion of the image. But for now, let's go with the whole thing. I'm going to go to Command A, and I will copy it, which you can do with Command C or by going to Edit, Copy. Now it's on my clipboard, and I can paste it right on top. And now I can go and do some of the same things that you saw me do with these layers right here with this layer. So I could go and change the opacity, and now we have a blended version of those two images. Or I could go try a blend mode and we have another kind of blended version of them where the colors in one are affecting the colors in the other, and so on. And I can turn that on and off as I choose. Another thing that I could do is grab this layer and change the size. So if I hit Command T, that's transform. So I could begin to make changes to the size of this little image that I added on. If I hold down Shift, I can manipulate the dimensions, which I don't actually want to do, so I'm going to undo that. If I don't hold anything down, the image stays in proportion. And this is a reversal of the way Photoshop used to do it. It used to be that the default was that free transform without Shift would change the dimensions. But now, if you hold Shift, it allows you to change the dimensions. You can go through and change the defaults if you want to. But if you've used Photoshop before and you're used to holding Shift to keep your dimensions, you should know that now when you go in, it will probably keep your dimensions without changing Shift. All right, I'm going to undo all of that. Let's see what I want to do. All right, so now I can take my little image, and Photoshop now has these handy guidelines so I can see that it's centered. And I can go in and I could say change the opacity or add some kind of blend mode, for example. And it would only be appearing in that little area where the image was. And then of course, because it's just a layer, I can always go and turn it on and